Last week, the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan had two meetings in Brussels. One of the meetings was actually the first one-on-one encounter between Prime Minister Pashinyan of Armenia and President Ilham Aliyev of Azerbaijan since the deadly 44-day war of last fall between the two Caucasus nations. President Aliyev announced that both nations reached a full agreement on opening of the railroad connection between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Prime Minister Pashinyan noted that through this railroad, Azerbaijan would get access to its exclave, Nakhchivan. Armenia would get access to Iran and Russia. The total length of the railroad track that will connect the two countries is around 340 kilometers. 100 kilometers of this track will be built on Azerbaijani territory. The construction of this portion started already in February. President Aliyev is optimistic that by the end of 2023, the Azerbaijani portion of the railroad will be completed. On the Armenian part, 45 kilometers of the railroad needs to be built. The rest of the railroad is a functioning railroad passing through the Azerbaijani exclave of Nakhchivan. Until the war broke out between the two countries in the late 1980s, there was a functioning railroad along the same route. However, after Armenia invaded around 20% of Azerbaijan, the railroad tracks in the occupied Azerbaijani territories were dismantled and sold as scrap material in Armenia and Iran. According to a report published in 2014 by International Alert, the Armenian section of the railroad includes 4 stations that have been semi-derelict for more than 2 decades. The railroad's track bed has been ripped up, while key associated infrastructure, including a tunnel, have fallen into disrepair following 20 years of neglect. Hence, the entire 45-kilometer railroad in Armenia needs to be built from scratch. From Azerbaijan, this railroad connection, in addition to the highway, which is also part of negotiations, will allow to break the 3-decade-long blockade of its exclave Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. Although Armenia and Azerbaijan seem to have reached an agreement regarding the railroad, other disagreements remain. One of them concerns the legal regime of the highway that will pass through Armenian territory connecting mainland Azerbaijan with Nakhchivan. Azerbaijan offers Armenia 2 options, as was announced by President Aliyev in Brussels. Either Armenia allows Azerbaijani cars and trucks to pass through Armenian territory without customs control, or both sides will install customs control. In this case, Azerbaijan insists on installing customs control for all trucks and cars entering Azerbaijani territory in Lachen, using the 5-kilometer-wide Lachen corridor to reach the areas of Karabakh where Russian peacekeepers are deployed and where ethnic Armenians reside. For now, all Armenian cars enter Azerbaijan in the Lachen corridor without any customs or border control. Another disagreement is regarding the delimitation and demarcation of borders between the two countries. However, the good news is that both countries seem to be moving towards establishment of a bilateral commission that will discuss all details of border delimitation and then demarcation. One more piece of good news relates to Turkey, the western neighbor of Armenia. Both Turkey and Armenia have now appointed special envoys to hold talks regarding the normalization of relations between the two countries. The first step will be the opening of charter flights between Armenia's capital Yerevan and Istanbul. At latter stages, restoration of trade and economic relations as well as opening of the borders are planned. Turkey and Armenia have had strained relations since the early 1990s. Armenia and its diaspora insist on the recognition of the tragic events of 1915 in the Ottoman Empire as the Armenian Genocide. Turkey has refused to do so. However, this disagreement did not prevent Turkey from becoming one of the first countries to recognize Armenia's independence in 1991. Parts of the Turkish-Armenian border were opened and bilateral trade relations thrived. Even amid the worst periods of the Armenia-Azerbaijan war, Turkey was facilitating humanitarian aid through its territory to Armenia. Nonetheless, when Armenia invaded the Azerbaijan district of Kalbajar in 1993, a move that was condemned by the United Nations, Turkey closed its border with Armenia and ended all relations with Yerevan. Turkey announced that its policy would not change as long as Azerbaijani territories remained under Armenian occupation. However, under much pressure from the United States and Europe, the Turkish policy started to change in 2008, when the two countries launched talks to reopen their border. In 2009, protocols were signed in Zurich between Turkey and Armenia. Referring to the Turkish promise of not reopening the border with Armenia as long as the Armenian occupation continued, Azerbaijan opposed the Turkish-Armenian rapprochement. Eventually, due to primarily Azerbaijani opposition, the rapprochement did not work out and the Armenian-Turkish border remained closed. But the liberation of Azerbaijani territories from the Armenian occupation last fall created a new reality in the region. Now Azerbaijan does not oppose the normalization of Turkish-Armenian relations, advocating for opening of all communications between Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Turkey, which will bring long-term peace to the region. The Turkish foreign minister has also stated that Turkey will coordinate its steps vis-à-vis Armenia with Azerbaijan. Turkey seems to hope that the Turkish-Armenian rapprochement will run parallel to Azerbaijani-Armenian rapprochement. If the progress on the Armenian-Azerbaijan front is stalled, the Turkish-Armenian peace process will likely be interrupted also. So, unlike 2008-2009, this time both processes need to be equally successful. Armenia has long been in favor of reopening ties, particularly given the economic losses it suffers from the closed border with Turkey. Government officials have stressed that restoring relations could bring. Despite the high-level steps towards rapprochement, ties have remained mostly frosty. Armenia's parliament is currently considering another extension to a ban on Turkish imports instituted after last year's war. Frosty, yes, but nonetheless moving forward. To those that ask why the talks are occurring, here are the words of an Armenian scholar, Richard Garagosian. Quote, "No matter the motivation, the outlook for Armenia-Turkey normalization is good. After decades of strained relations, this marks a refreshingly positive start." Now, you would imagine that all Armenians would be thinking similarly to this scholar and support the much-needed and much overdue peace for Armenia with its neighbors. Peace that will also bring economic prosperity and end the impoverishment of the country and mass immigration, as well as break Armenia's 3-decade-long regional isolation. The biggest Armenian opposers of the peace in the South Caucasus are not in Armenia. They are in Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, and other parts of Los Angeles and the United States, as well as in France, Lebanon, etc., where large Armenian diaspora communities live. Just recently, the Armenian Youth Federation, a Dashnak organization, held a large protest action in front of the Armenian consulate in Glendale. They were very clear in rejecting any peace and normalization and practically demanding a new war against Azerbaijan.
We say no to the demarcation that excludes Akta. We say no to the Mehri corridor. You cannot rattle our nerves or change our minds. Try if you dare. But those of you hoping to end the revolution will be alone in the end. We burn these flags to symbolize the end of dictatorial oppression of the Armenian people at the hands of the states who want to wipe us of our existence. Today, we stand here to remind you, for the freedom of our people, we will put down our pens only to carry our swords to victory.
One of the chief representatives of Armenian Dashnak lobbyist ARM, the Armenian National Committee of America, tweeted, quote, "Armenians don't want peace, we want liberation," unquote. Of course, it's easy to live in Glendale and sip macchiato at Starbucks and refuse peace and demand a new war. Once a new war starts, however, it's the young Armenians in Armenia who will have to go and fight, not the Armenian Dashnaks who prefer to comfortably stay in Glendale, Burbank, and elsewhere and keep sipping coffee and be keyboard commandos, all the while telling Armenians in Armenia to reject peace and live in eternal hostility with their Azerbaijani and Turkish neighbors. I hope the Armenian leadership will have the wisdom to listen to the national interests of Armenia and not to the revanchist demands of the radical Armenian diaspora, and will continue to engage with its neighbors for sustainable peace in the region.